So those are really cool. But I noticed something. I haven't seen any data.
You mean live data?
Live data.
You want real data?
I've seen some mock stuff.
Like
but
from the database?
Yeah, well, talking to Salesforce.
Sure. So there's actually some great parts of LWC that support that. So we're going to talk about a new decorator called @Wire.
Okay.
So @Wire's job is to help us connect essentially a stream of information to our UI. And so you think of it sort of like a hose or something, right? It's just going to keep giving you records. And what I mean by that is the wire service is reactive.
Ooh. So that doesn't sound like data service.
Well, it is data service. The wire is built on top of Lightning Data
So
Service.
it sounds like it's doing more than what data service.
As data service has continued to evolve and get more sophisticated, we're beginning to see that sort of manifest here in the wild for us to take advantage of. So let's look at a few different data examples. The simplest ones are just using straight Lightning Data Service. And in this case, what they do is they surface a few components on the contact record page that pull in information about the contacts. Like here's a dynamic schema, here's a static schema that pull in information about the contact, and it's like an editable form I can click and modify some values.
Is this a custom component, or is this an implementation of the record detail?
Well, let's go look at the markup.
Okay.
So that was, let's look at the static one first. So here's the markup for that widget that we were just looking at. It's a Lightning record edit form. I'm going to give it an object API name. So for my S object, I'm going to give it the Salesforce ID for the record I want to edit. And then I pick the fields that I want to show. So name, title, phone, email. And it handles the rest. It figures out how to get the data for me. Let's go look at the JavaScript here. I'm not actually getting any data out, right? I'm just saying, hey, here are some values that I'm going to set. And I'll explain what that is in a second. So this component, the Lightning Record Edit form, is going to leverage Wire and Lightning Data Service, well, in this case, Lightning Data Service, to pull information out of Salesforce for us, but just by giving it the object ID and the S object type that it belongs to.
Right.
So that's nice and very convenient. It also handles all the database interactions saving. So you notice there's no behavior here where I've written up any sort of save stuff. And it was a little bit awkward in Aura with some of the standard components where if I needed to save it, I had to fire a component event that was going to fire
event, then you had to handle the event, then you had to handle the response of the event that was fired off from the component itself. It was very verbose.
So this has gotten much simpler,
very
which
clean.
is nice. So sort of the default position of Salesforce is always going to be, hey, if there's something out of the box that you can use that does the data service for you, you don't even do your own data, that's their preference. Right. So understand that anytime I'm showing you fetching data, it's like the second choice when you're going to get the data yourself. It's only when you can't get it normally. Okay, one more thing I want to mention here is in that JavaScript that we looked at, we saw some unusual imports. One of the really cool things in Lightning Web Components is you can actually import a reference, like a hard reference to schema. So I could say, hey, I want to fetch the name, title, phone, and email fields off this record, off this S object. And if an admin goes in and deletes one of those fields or renames it, magical things happen. If they try to delete a field, they'll get an error because they see the dependency because it's static. And if they rename the field, Salesforce will rewrite your code.
It has become metadata aware.
It's metadata aware.
Which Visualforce has always been.
Right.
But Lightning components with Aura
components weren't.
Were not.
So not only can I sort of statically import references to my schema in a way that I can be confident that I'm going to find the right stuff, but it also protects me in the future from other people making changes. In the same way that other things in Salesforce are metadata aware and block deletes and that sort of thing.
That's magic.
That's some magic right there.